Good evening, good evening, good evening, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul, where I am your host, Michelle Boulden Hammond. And I think tonight I am so honored. I get to say, you never know who's watching you. I tell you guys, I tell you, audience, you never know where your light will shine, right? So, my special guest, Miss Delia Josan, is here. She is a student from Marymount College and she is interviewing me. So, I thought what better way is to bring this to the world to see and be evident that when your light shines, it shines. I just it's just an opportunity, and I just want to let people know that this is the life that I lead. And when it comes down to advocating for mental health, helping people to get through different situations and give people the hope, and that's why we're here. So, Delia, thank you so much for joining me tonight on the show. So, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, and thank you to you, first of all, for giving me this great opportunity to sit down with you. Although we haven't met in person, already feel like I know a lot about you. So I kind of did a little bit of my homework before this interview. So. Just for your audience, this interview is centered around mental health and specifically multiculturalism within the mental health field. So, without further ado, if you allow me, I would like to ask you some questions. You seem like you are just everywhere in the space, and I'm just really flabbergasted by the fact that you are just active in so many roles. So you have so many talents. You're a singer, you're an author, you're an entrepreneur, you're a life coach, you're a social justice advocate. And probably many more that I couldn't, found out about you. But what I wanted to ask, first and foremost, what inspired you to undertake these roles, and why?
So, that look, let me tell you, she did her homework. She did her homework. Like she said, she did her homework. But Dahlia, to say, it's just been something. I'm gonna say this. Usually, people are birthed with this, but it's just up to me to find a purpose. And for me, how I got into this role was because I'm a type of believer person that believes that nothing happens to you for a reason. I mean, it might seem that the trauma, or whatever you've been through, or whatever the circumstances that you've been through, but I always look at it as I got to give back. I got to give back because I have to share this story because someone else might be going through the same thing that I'm going through or have been through. But just I want the people to see that that's the light. So that's how I got into it. As I shared, and I know you probably said you read some of the books and stuff like that. I've shared on a portion of my life story of being someone who was adopted first. You have that second identity. You don't really know what's going on, and it wasn't revealed to me till I got older why all that circumstance happened. But I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of didn't I just was angry, and but then now I know why the circumstances happen. Now I don't, it's a process that you got to heal from, and I want other people to share because to tell you this, Delia, I'm gonna tell you, like 2 years ago when I did the book, um, Polished, Passionate, and Poised, I was in a Laurel, Maryland, in a little petite more than Java, which is not there. They're actually moved their location. I used to have a little seminar where I wanted to bring authors and people together. And for instance, one time it was a lady who had did her book and she was adopted. And she said, people don't really understand how I feel. I'm thankful that I was thankful being into adopted, but people don't really know the feelings that adopted people go through. So
Mm.
for me to hear that, that's where it hit. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's someone else. And we started talking. So this is how I look at it, how I got into this realm. And then when we talk about mental health, of course, I got family members. But when we talk about the whole community, because our community, people of color, we're suffering because one, we didn't have the privilege of going to doctors.
Mm.
We didn't have the privilege because you couldn't afford them,
Mm-hmm.
but now with the free access of mental health, but we don't have enough providers. So
Right.
that's another reason why I've jumped into it. And I'm glad that you are a person of color who wants to jump into the realm because, again, not knocking it down about race, but a lot of times you have to connect because sometimes I done been through the dirts and the don'ts. I done
Mhm.
been through social determinants of health. So I know what it is, but some people just do it as a study, but I got the real life experience. So when you
Right.
put all that together, I think it's more beneficial, and that's why I do what I do.
Well, thank you for that. So, I'm actually, it's interesting that you said, I just wrote a note down that you just mentioned that, you don't want to knock it out about race. I think that we do have to talk about race. It's that tolerance that it should not be accepted. It's a taboo, and I'm just dumbfounded by the fact that we're not talking about race. We do have to talk about race
Right,
because
right,
that's part of our identity, and not talking about it does not is not going to help anyone.
right,
Specifically, like we're undergoing some studies right now with color blindness and all of, like, oh, I don't see race, or um I don't think that race matters, or I think it's just absolutely horrendous to talk in those terms about race. We do have to talk about it because it is important. So, just to go on with with my little script here. So it seems like you're involved in so many activities and so many endeavors, but you're also very much focused on the empowerment of women. And within that context, you organized an event yesterday called Resilience in Mental Health. And I just wanted to ask you about your motivation and why did you decide to do this specific event?
So the Pacific event, we actually broke off and we did a look virtually for a screening to do. We did it in October where we came forth with the second half of the redirection of the book Polished, Passionate, and Poised.
Mm-hmm.
So we did during the summer of last year, beginning like in the spring, from the women's event that I do yearly. We started the process of the movie then. So October we did a lash for it, and the screening for somehow. But we always say about timing. Things help about timing. I had rented a particular facility, and for the powers that be, we don't know what had happened, but the movie didn't screen. So I was like, okay, let's shift this. So we did it, but we brought it out to the community. We had different representatives there in the community, down from veterans. We hit the whole circle, and I brought all the mental health providers,
Mm-hmm.
even some community-based organizations, and they would help with social determinants of health as well. So I'm like, okay, I don't see as many. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't looking, and maybe, like you say, I have a lot of hats in the fire here somewhere. I just didn't see a lot of stuff in effortless about mental health, redressing the resilience of us having being awareness of it, especially in Black History Month. So that idea popped in. I said, well, you know what? What better way to bring it first? We bring it to the faith community. We want to try to bring it to the faith community. We try to bring it to the council people, but powers that be, everybody's busy. But I do have to have a say when you don't see those people at the table, the leaders. When you
Right.
don't see those type of people at the table, it kind of bothered me. So I said, okay, I can't let everything bother me. So that's why I take action. Whoever comes is meant to be there. So yesterday's event was phenomenal. Lessons got out of it, and I made the statement to the viewers who were there. Some were clinicians, some weren't clinicians, some were just family based. And the special thing for me is that I had a person who is in my family who was there. And another thing, it was men in there. Men even spoke. And you know how hard it is to get a man to even come
Oh,
into the
yes.
building. So we had men even there, and they were even engaged, and they were even in, talking. But it was just so important to have them in that building and to see if I left them with a charge. So after today, all this that you have gained, what are you going to do to be a real world changer after you leave from here today? So
Wonderful.
that's what I'm putting out to the audience tonight. Even if you catch the replay of this, what are you doing in your life to be a world changer today? And even if you have to see the script, it's on YouTube, the movie's on YouTube, but what are you going to do to be a world changer today? Especially, what are you advocating for? What is beneficial that you're going to advocate for? And a lot of people came and they left away with a thought, and a lot of more something through one of my team members who's a part, she's also a clinician. We're actually right through that meeting yesterday. We're actually going to put on an event together along with a church that who had hosted us there. They also want to get involved with doing this mass of a bringing the family together and talking about the issues, because we always, as people say, oh, you that strong woman or you that strong man, you got to wear all these hats. But we're actually going to take off the cape, because actually sometimes that cape can be the loose to your neck. Because man, look, you said she even gave a depth of that. So write out those issues, and then because a lot of times we tell our children no, we don't give no why, we don't give no lessons, just because no. But do we also tell no to ourselves? That no is saying yes to ourselves. So it was phenomenal. I'm still in awe. I I had a student as yourself came and interviewed from Bowie State, who's working on his clinical masters as well in mental health. And for him to send me that message to say, Miss Hammond, this has really helped me with my studies in the field that I go to. And that's all I want to do. I'm not even all about the accolades and none of that type of stuff, but that's the kind of stuff that gives me power and keeps on continuing me to work with what I need to do.
And that's why we're very, very thankful for giving us that opportunity. Again, like you said, everything starts with a thought.
Yes.
And helping us eventually help others is just, it's priceless. So now talking about the event, do you have anything else coming up? Anything else that you're working on? Anything of particular note?
So yeah, so actually I will be working on next month. We will be having, which and I this will be the 14th year. I have this event called the not polish, I'm sorry. It is Warm Your Heart, Warm Your Mind, and Warm Your Soul retreat. And at this retreat this year, we are dealing with the trauma stuff, inner child experience. This is what it's called. So this is what it looks like. This is the 2024 Warm Your Heart, Warm Your Mind, and Warm Your Soul, the Inner Child Experience. It will be held in Wades Point, which is McDaniel, Maryland, which is outside of St. Michael's, Maryland, with a lot of people come for tourism. We have a 3-day, 2-night accommodation with workshops, excursions. You'll get meals. But I'm excited because we're having like an inner circle type of healing men. For the men, they're going to be taking off. The women going to be working with Natasha Helwing and Nigel Birch, are our two guest international speakers who will be coming from Toronto, Canada. They both are relationship specialists, authors, singers, songwriters, spoken word, different things is that. And then I have Selena Robinson who be coming doing doing a workshop with us. And on Sunday it'll be Kat Daly who will be leaving us out with her book called Spiritually Bankrupt. So it's everything for your mind, your body. And so we got a couple Friday night. We're having popcorn and jazz. We have a jazz musician that's coming in, a saxophonist, where we're going to be doing games and stuff. And it's very important if you want to come to this. I am actually offering the day that someone can come, because I know a lot of people can't afford this, but I'm just going to say this. Now, Delia, do you believe me? If you want to invest in yourself truly, and I'm really low cutting it because those rooms are like $300 a night and you get a whole weekend for $470. I digress on that, but I'm trying to make it affordable for people to get the healing that you need. You need it.
Mm-hmm.
You need it. If you can just come for the day, there's a day you'll be able to stay all day from 10 o'clock to 9 o'clock that night on a property, waterfront property, and do all the activities with us, even have lunch and all that type of stuff, the dinner, all of that type of stuff. I try to make it affordable, but it costs the plate to get people here and activities and games and different things like that, so you can have all that you have. But I'm excited about it. We have people registered, but hey, if you want to come, just hit me up for the information and we'll make sure you get it.
That's awesome. It sounds like it's an all-encompassing event. Maybe I'm just sort of trying to imagine it. Maybe some sort of group therapy model. Yeah. I'm thinking
it is. It's a group therapy model. I don't want to give all the information up, but I've asked specifically that people fill out the Google information when they do it. We want a childhood picture of you. We want what music that you listen to, because there's a reason why we're giving it. What is your favorite candy? So it's all little things that'll make you go in your head. So that's why we're trying to get all of this information into you, because it's a reason why we're coming to you, because a lot of times people erase their childhoods.
Right.
But what we don't want you to do is erase what you had in your childhood, that you can do this in adulthood as well. So that's the reason why. And we also looking for sponsors. So maybe let Marymount sponsor you to come.
I know. That is something definitely I would be bringing up in my in one of my classes specifically.
Yeah, so let Marymount sponsor you. Yeah. Or tell them that, for the students, we will have them come down or something. I can work some letters out here, work some figures out to make it, accessible. But it's something that's going to be really good to have. And I try to do it, but this is the saying: you can bring people to water, but you can't make them drink. So who's going to be there is going to be there, destined to be there. I'm just like, I'm ready to get it done and get it over and work on the next thing. So,
of course, like as you seem to follow a pattern, go on to the next thing.
Yeah, go on to the next thing. I don't harbor into it. I have a lot of people tell me, oh, I'm coming, I'm this and that. You can tell them the registration date is when it's due by. You can tell them all of this and they still leave you hanging. But you know what? I'm moving ahead. It's not going to stop it, because this is 14 years. But I will say for next year, I did a cruise years ago. We're going to do a cruise next year for the 15th year celebration. So wonderful. I'm working around that. That's why I got to get this done and move along to the next year, because that's going to be very special for next year.
Lots of planning involved. That's right.
Yeah. So I got a team. I had a team this year. I didn't, because usually I do this all by myself, put all the stuff together. Not this year. We came up with a team and we've been meeting regularly on it. So yes.
Yeah, so actually, you just might have answered my next question, which was, it looks like your platform is the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul. That's your main platform that you're working out of. And I wanted to ask if you were doing this on your own, or do you have a team? It looks like you will have a team for this particular event, but typically, on a day-to-day basis, do you undertake all of these endeavors on your own, or I don't know, do you have communities involved in it? How is it all coming together?
So for me, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's me all alone, but not really all alone. Because I know when God gives me this initiative, look, He's up with me and early in the morning. See, this is the thing, Delia, that people have to understand. And I tell everybody this. I follow His plan.
Mhm.
If I follow His plan, I'm never gonna be alone. It might seem like I'm alone, but then again, do I really want the team? Because how He strictly designed it. I'm gonna just give you an example. He gave Noah those instructions about the ark, right? It was nobody else there but him. Noah was given those instructions to do what he had to do, right? That's me. Now it was time for him to ask his people to go get these so many people, go get these many animals, build it by this destruction. Sometimes you can get so big in your thoughts with a team, but then is that really going to be helpful? Because it can be a mess. And I
Mhm.
look at it as when he gives me something to do, I act on it because I don't believe that he just gives it to you to sit there and wait. Oh, well, should I do this? Because that gives you time to destroy it with the plan that he has.
To
So I try to
sabotage.
I look at it as there's someone attached to the plan that he's given me, and I don't want to hinder that person's process. Whether I if that like yesterday was a plan for somebody who might was in that building going through grief. Those resources was there, so I connected with the resources to have those resources there. So that's how I look at all of this. Yeah, a lot of it I do on alone, but not necessarily alone, because God always give me the plan first and I just act on it, because faith without works is dead.
That's right. So it seems like spirituality is ever present in what you're
Ever.
doing, and
All the time present.
that's wonderful. Yeah.
All the time present. All the time present. And and let me say this too, Dahlia. Some of as a researcher, as yourself, as you doing research for your schooling, there are also other mechanisms as us being in the realms of therapeutic healing, where we have to use tools.
Hmm.
And witching, again, some people may believe that these things are demonic or however it may be, but I just want to make that clear too, that please stop telling people that everything is witchcraft or this or that. When it comes down, yes, I use the sound bowls. That is a therapeutic process.
Absolutely.
Go do your research.
Hmm.
And then if you want to get technical, when we talk about sound bowls, was it not sound that tore down the walls of Jericho? Was it not sound that David used, that God had gave Saul that spirit? So we got to stop mitigating things and saying it's of the wrong effects. I'm just saying, I had to put that little soapbox out there, but
No, it's great that
sometimes,
you bring it up. Yes.
yeah, it discredit the work that I'm doing. So just put that disclaimer. Please get yourself educated on different things, because there are different properties. It's natural sound.
Hmm.
Frequencies is all around the world. Frequencies would, if it wasn't no frequencies being heard, we wouldn't even be here on the television or anything today. So I just want to put that out there as well. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we use, and I use holistically stuff too.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we just got to get yourself open minded, educated. There's no
That's
sorcery here. I know whose I am, and I know whose I belong to.
right. That's I was gonna just second that, because I think even let's say you're not using these particular tools, I think it's up to the person, right? Like you cannot heal yourself unless you accept that you have a trauma or that you have a particular issue. So it all starts with your being open. If you're not
Right.
open, you can go to as many retreats as, you
Right.
know,
You just
as
have to be
possible.
open. You just have to
Right.
be open because I've seen people come to the retreat and fully transformed around.
Mhm.
So that's all I want to see. I've
Right.
seen people come to there, especially again, it's for your mind, your body, and the soul. So, I have the spiritual word ready for you when we leave. After everything we attain, we unite with each other. We check in on each other throughout the year. So that's one of the things that we do. And I also have resources in the bags that we giveaways and different things like that that people have. But I think we have to get educated more, especially when we're talking about different types of resources that you use. Because again, somebody who's suffering with anxiety, when
Mhm.
I ding that bowl, it helps. If somebody have a little piece of headache, I ding that bowl to a certain frequency, it
Mhm.
removes the headache. So I'm just, we just got to be open and just be
Right.
able to receive and just look at things, have an open mind. That's all we have to do. Just have an open mind.
That's great. Yeah, that's amazing. So let's see. Let's go on to some deeper um questions here. So you, as a woman of color, not you don't just belong to one particular marginalized or oppressed group. It's more than two than I can just think of, right? What is your opinion right now on the current availability of mental health resources for the Black communities or other minority communities? And how do you think that the current climate could be changed for the better?
Well, one, we are limited
Mm,
in people of color being in the profession of mental health.
right.
That is a big, that's why I broke down and I was like, when I thought about it, I was like, I was going through this stuff. Let me just go on and address that. So we need more people of color to come forth and to heal our communities. And I'm not saying that it won't, but I think it would be much more better because there is a disparity in that. That
Absolutely.
there is a disparity in that. We don't have enough, even down to school teachers, those different um
Helping professions.
the
Yeah.
helping professions. They don't have a lot of people of the color
Mhm.
that's helping out. So I think it also, if we would have more, it would actually help with some of the issues that we have in our communities.
Right, because I also think it's an element of trust there. So in terms of formal education for, let's say, what I'm doing, clinical mental health counseling, what do you think? Just, you don't have to go too deep into it, but how do you think we could attract more minorities within this field?
Actually, have more classes based upon
Hmm.
for those in the field. Let's talk about those social determinant health. So what come
Hmm.
up with the courses is, how did I go through these social determinants of health? Do more courses working that. I mean, you can base all the theories you want, but then let me go say this. When it comes down to the standards of the rulemaking of the profession,
Hmm. Go on.
Our American Counseling Association, they say that, you think about it, has most of those diagnoses and those different types of core beliefs and structures of what it says. Is that really, it says multiculturalism, but when we come down to the demographics, is it really?
It's not.
It's not. So I think that there should be, even though we have a multicultural division, but I think that those things need to become addressed to the table. Or are we handling those issues? Are we making those policies? Are we making those ACA things are credible, or are they more standard like to people of color? too. I mean, not saying we separating it, but I think that there should be a way for us to go back because again, there was an apology that came out. There was all this time in the counseling profession. It wasn't, but now let's do something about it. What are we gonna do about it? Have you called people to the table for it? Have you called people to the table when you're making these policies? Who's in the boardroom when you're making those policies?
Right. And also you have to think about the ACA code of ethics. It's like, to me, it's just a little bit over the top. The last update to the ACA occurred in 2014, which
2014,
right.
right.
So
2014, 9 years, well, no, 10 years ago.
right.
So
But you know what that means? That means that they did what they did probably a year or two before that. So it's not really 2014.
no,
It's
20
probably
years.
2012 or something like that. So
That's yeah.
I am actually, very much looking forward to see, when the next update is going to happen and how that's going to look. Because, like you said, while the ACA has a multicultural division and it has guidelines and so forth, that doesn't seem to have helped bringing in a more diverse body of counselors. So, yeah, I get it. I get it, but we do when you're a student, you just do what you can and try to find out as much as you can so you can bring it,
Exactly.
also make people aware.
Exactly.
So again, just within the same realm of of race, do you think that people within the Black communities, and not just Black communities, but I would like to specifically talk about that just because there's a history behind it. Do you think that the Black communities are reluctant to seek mental health services? Or do you think they trust the current format in which mental health services are happening?
So that's a two-part question.
Right.
When the first question you asked about, are they reluctant? Very much so, you're reluctant. And as you said earlier, it's about the trust issues. Because again, if you look at historically, what has done when we had trusted individuals of
Yep.
other color,
Yep.
things did not go as well as it's supposed to, and they lied and hid it, and they did a lot of studies without, so no, but we still shouldn't let that stop us. And when it's available, especially when you have the Medicaid, especially when you're having the Medicaid. I see it often. A lot of parents are reluctant, again, because we don't want to know what's going on at home. We thinking it's always things going on home. But Johnny comes home, and then you don't even have the parent involved if the counselor says send something home. So we see it all the time. They're reluctant due to not understanding.
So you think it's not just history at play, but it's also self-education?
Self-education. And not only just what part with self-education, it's just too that it's something that it's nothing wrong with me. I don't want that stigma beside me. That's the whole issue. The whole issue is the stigma. I don't want people to think that I don't know. They don't know what I'm talking about. They don't know what I'm going through, but
kind of like, I don't want to air my dirty laundry in public type
right.
of thing.
I don't want to air because historically we always been taught.
Right.
What goes on in this house stays in this house. So that's what we've been taught.
That's right. So how do you think we can all come together and make some changes, like real changes to the, at the grassroots level? What is there that we could do, say, today to sort of start the work on dispelling these stereotypes that people of color might believe in when it comes to mental health?
One, I like the fact that I love the fact that what Taraji P. Henson is doing with her Henson Foundation, especially when it comes down to making sure in the schools, universities, that people having the right to go if they just feel overwhelmed. She's creating these pods. That is a desire of mine, just to have a space where people can just walk in if they feel to get, just to have a fresh room. Because we doing this stuff in schools. Some schools are doing it, some school districts are doing it. But when kids are having meltdowns, they're having these meltdown rooms where you teaching the basis of box breathing, different things like that. But I think it also needs to have the parent and child experience in it as well, because you can do it in school, but if it ain't reluctant with the parent, you're gonna, it's just
Absolutely. Yes.
it's just not gonna be. And there's charges that you can do, not being harsh, but you can see it all the time. If you are a counselor in the school, and you having this child, and you don't want to break up the home, but when it comes down to the parent refusing to care, and knowing that there's something wrong, well, you know what your next step is to do, right? Because that's a form of what? Neglect.
Abuse.
Yeah. It's,
Mhm.
it's some type of form of neglect. So then it will be mandated that we have to go to parenting classes, that we need to seek counseling. It shouldn't have to get into that realm, but that's what happens most of the time when we
Right.
really. So what I say to do that, we need to advocate even more. Just call in on the parent. And I know it's a lot, because we have a lot on our hands. I know I do. I do every day at
Mhm.
work. I do. Just
Yeah.
to call and check, do that parent check, parent check or caregiver check, whoever it is, because again, a lot of parents aren't even raising their kids. So we dealing with that as well, where the kids are missing the parents and wondering why
Mhm.
again. But just to do those self-care check-ins, on just to give a call, Mrs. So and so, how are you doing today? That's what we can do in the school system. But far as send that information out, get involved with these community. I have a problem with community action agencies not doing anything. I have a problem with it.
Well, that's that and also because you're talking about schools and counselors,
Yep.
there's just we're not even close to having
Not enough.
enough.
Enough
I
workers,
mean, a
even social
counselor,
workers. Social
right?
workers is not enough. I can tell you that. I'm gonna just say, I don't want to put it out there. I can just say, because I work, I
Mhm.
can tell you that when you got to call in a third party to answer phones at your human resource, at your human places, at your
Mhm.
human services for the counties, it's ridiculous. So
Right.
something's wrong. People burnt out.
Mhm.
That's where we say how we can advocate even more as a self-care therapist, as a counselor. Mandate your self-care. Now let's go back to the ACA with that, because they're saying if you ain't practicing self-care, you can damage your clients. So
Right.
it's got to start with us first. You got to make sure that you right. And that's why I keep myself. I'm a therapy. I got therapists. Yeah, I do. Got a
Of
whole lot
course.
of them.
Yep.
Got plenty of them. So ain't nothing wrong with it. And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with having a therapist. If you need one, get one. If you don't know where to find one, resource and look up one. So there's a lot of ways. Advocate,
Mhm.
don't try to bottle it all in. Talk to someone.
Yeah, I think that's just really so important, especially that you brought up the school. Now, this is not the subject of our talk today, but that's something that is just something probably worth exploring in the future because it's a big issue. Especially, I'm just thinking, especially when you have a counselor that is assigned 200 students.
Right,
Yeah, there's
exactly.
just no way you can do them
There's
justice.
no way you can do justice. There's no way you can do justice. Again, that's the disparity. We don't have enough,
Hmm.
and we don't have enough that and that everything is limited. Because sometimes the counselors might have to go in the classroom because we don't have no teachers. So it's just a trickle down effect on mental health periodly. So I would say the biggest thing is check on your self care.
Mm, that's most important.
That's the most important. Check
Yep.
on your self care. And I always say this too. There's a circle. I do this circle. I don't let anything in that side, that circle is just gonna rearrange my ever ending happiness or the way I'm feeling that day.
That's a
So
wonderful point.
I'll knock it out back out the box if it tries to come in. And I try to put up, I don't put up this defense because I'm welcoming, but I know how to look at certain things and look at certain ways of how things going to make me feel, because I want you to be sensitive to my
Mhm.
feelings as well.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to be sensitive to my feelings as well. So it's just a check on your self-care first. Is it going to be harmful to me, or is it going to be helpful for me to continue what I need to do?
Right. It's deep. Yes. So, on the same, along the same lines of, shortage of diversity within the mental health counseling field. It is what it is at this point. So, we're trying to advocate, but as we sit here right now today, there is a shortage, right? There's nothing we can do about it today. Um, so, in that sense, what kind of advice would you have, or what kind of ideas or suggestions might you have for white counselors wishing to work with the Black population within the counseling field, since we have a shortage of diversity?
So what I would tell you to do,
Ah.
don't just assume that it's just what it seems like.
Mm,
Really dig deeper than
mhm.
over your assumptions.
Right. So do you think that it's important to broach the concept of race when you have um, a therapeutic relationship between a white counselor and a person of color? Do you think it's
To,
important for that counselor to talk about race and culture before even, starting any sort of treatment?
yeah, because they need to check their self, to check
Uh-huh.
their own barriers, because check their own biases. I know you done got that question. I know you done got that question. You haven't got that far in clinical medical health, 'cause they drained that in me when I was in my studies, in my
Right.
graduate courses.
Hmm.
Check your own biases.
That's right.
Check your own bias. Check it. Check the box on it. Go over check it. Go
Don't
to the
assume.
microscope. Go to the root of it. Because
Right.
again, some people values, again, like I said earlier before we started in the show, because some people can just go to school and just, this is just a profession.
Mm,
But when you have to really deep dive and then see that Johnny is living in a roach infested house, and you came from off of Belvedere side or Bel Air side,
yeah.
you got to look at those biases. You got to check those interconnected feelings. Like, oh, he's just a kid from the hood, but check those biases. Check how you saying things to it. Check. Don't assume.
That
Don't assume. So
assumption is the killer. Yes, I am down with you on that.
yeah, so
Assumption
I'm just like, don't assume, but that's how I look at it. We always be mindful. And again, it's gonna take enough to build that trust, because again, there's so much that you don't know about little Johnny, and the reason why little Johnny is acting there that way. And it might be something really deep, deep, deep. And you got to really check your biases on it and be strong too, because I can tell you too, sometimes it'll make you cry. So it's been a couple days that I done
Mhm.
came home and for some things, because it also can trigger us as well. So
Right, and I mean, there is a reason why I brought up the topic of broaching. It's just because it's a sensitive subject with a lot of
mhm,
people, especially white counselors.
mhm.
They feel uncomfortable talking about race, and this discomfort, I think, also comes from privilege. So, oh, I am not comfortable, therefore I'm not going to talk about it.
Right.
Well, it's not about you, it's about the
It's not
client.
right.
So I think it's just really important, and my eyes were opened, through my studies about this particular subject, because there's anecdotal evidence and there's also studies out there that, different white counselors do broach race in different ways, and some of them don't do it at all. And it's kind of important to educate them that you need to meet the client where they are, and you need to talk about it, because if you don't talk about it, they're not going to bring it up, they're not going to feel comfortable enough with you. So it has something to do with a therapeutic relationship.
Exactly.
So now to move on a little bit, do you think that there are any sort of stereotypes that are present there, about Black communities, that you would like to today dispel and say, okay, this is not how it is? Just, maybe one or two examples, whatever comes to mind.
So one of the things that I see is that they always that believe that just because everybody in the household, there's not a lot of fathers in the homes.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I've seen that popularized there for a second. Yeah.
It's not a lot of fathers in the home. And the father might not be in the home for a reason, but he does. Don't assume that just because there's a single mom that there's no father that's backing her up. That's one of the biggest things for me, because most of the support I do see is some of the fathers be to where they need to be at. They're the ones taking the kids to counseling and different things like that. So that's my biggest one. It's just that's the biggest one for me. I don't really, outside of that, mom don't want to work, different things like that, or it's a whole lot of them that you can name, but that one off the top, don't just assume because there's a single mom that there's not a dad that's involved,
or a father figure for that.
or a father figure in the house. So. And don't always assume that the parents are the one that's the caretakers, because we got other people that are caretaking. If it ain't an aunt, or it might be the sister, might be the grandparents, things like that. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Right. It has a lot to do with culture. Because, within the white population, it's individualism is so at the forefront and at the center of everything. It is important that we learn that every culture is different, and just because they don't live life the way you do, it doesn't make that invalid. So thank you for sharing that. That's actually really an important point. I didn't even think about the father figure subject there. So I'm not sure if this is the right platform, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Are there any sort of experiences that you might want to share in a public forum such as this, that you might have had specifically with white populations, that affected your life negatively, and how do you think that could be changed in the future?
Don't assume that all Black women are not educated enough.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yes.
And even in the part of them having the education, don't feel inferior with them or giving them that job promotion, that it'll be less something for you, and knowing that that person is qualified for that job. I just say, in my past, I worked with this individual, and it was funny because it was a multicultural place that I was the face of the community for this organization that I worked for like 3 years. And honesty is the best thing. I'd rather for you to tell me the truth. So when I go to interviews, it's the first thing, if you're going to get rid of me, please tell me the truth first. Don't wait till like the day of to say, oh, well, we're not going to work this. It's not going to work anymore. And I get it with grants or whatever else, but how it was done shady. And don't assume or use me because I'm a demographic for you to get extra money.
Uh-huh.
So don't use my color for a demographic. Use my intelligence of what that's. There we go. So you'd have made me think of something else right there. Yeah, you'd have made me think of something right there. So look, you see how you triggered me with bringing
Yeah.
that one on. Yeah, so,
And that's what I said. Maybe this is not the right, but I was gonna. I missed it. I was gonna ask anyway. Yeah.
it's okay. But yeah, because we got a couple more minutes before we what. But this has real that is the main thing. Don't use me as, don't just hire me because of my demographics. You hire me for my integrity and what I stand for,
Qualifications and
my
education.
qualifications. And that was one thing too that I had to press when I that's why I tell her, I started this journey as a CNA working for 20 some years. I went and got my associates. They was like, oh, you're gonna need your bachelor's. Went and got my bachelor's. Oh, you're gonna need your bachelor's. Then when I get my master's, then what else you want me to get? What else you want me to get? Still, I even went for the interview for the job and they wouldn't even give it to me. Didn't even give me the second interview. So, but that just shows me where people are. And to some of you, you might be just that demographic, so you better check it. Just let them know. Don't just hire me because I'm a demographic to help you get a boost, to help you with your quota or what you need.
Right.
Hire me because of my integrity and what my intelligence stands for.
Right. That's good advice. Thank you. I'm almost done. I promise. So just a hypothetical situation here. If you were to say, seek counseling services, you get a white counselor, you go to your first session, you realize this counselor has no idea about where you come from, your culture, so they lack that that knowledge about your cultural group. And that obviously impacts your therapeutic relationship. Would you say something to that counselor? Would you educate that counselor, or would you just say, well, I'm just going to pick my battles and this is not it?
So no, actually what I would say to the counselor is we need to be informed of all cultures. So it would, besides you to have that in the case of the question of your assessment in the beginning. That's something you're going to need, because how are you going to do what you need to do for your client or help them? So I would say to that counselor, think about it. Think about your assessment and think about those questions in that assessment that will give you that history. How did you grow up? How was your childhood growing up? Those different types of questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. What kind of practices, non-traditional practices? How would I, those are the type of questions that we need to be asking and suggesting.
Right. The reason why I'm asking is because, there's a power dynamic there, whether you like it or not, between a counselor and a client. So a lot of times, especially within the marginalized populations, when you're faced with a white counselor, and even though you don't like what you hear, or you might think that this counselor is not going in the right direction for me, a lot of people don't have that trust or that confidence to confront. And I think that's really important. It's not happening enough. And if it's not happening, that means that other people are not getting educated. So, counselors need to know that although there is a power dynamic there, we're still vulnerable and we still have a lot to learn. All right. So before my final question, it seems like just sort of like the takeaways. We talked a lot about assumption. It looks like it's it's like an emergent theme here. Assumption. Check yourself. And look for resources. Just because not only that, okay, what else? Stereotyping, right? Don't be afraid to look for services. If something is not right, seek help, right? Although we're not, yes, so we're not where we want to be, but again, we want to empower people to do that. So That brings me to my last question. Any final words of wisdom? Anything that you can impart with the majority demographic that you would like counselors to know, since we have a lack of diversity?
There it is, right across the screen. What is the matter of your heart? What is the matter of your heart?
That's deep. I'm going to write that down. um, okay. I'm sorry. I had to write that down, or before I forget it. Well, I feel like, we can talk for hours and hours. This is a never ending subject, but I want to thank you so much, and I'm
And
so honored
thank you.
to
Thank you
have
so
your
much.
presence here. Yes, it's been, and I hope we continue to have conversations
Yes.
about this, and I'll definitely reach out.
All right. Thank you. So, audience, you have seen me being exclusively interviewed tonight with Marymount here. Clinical. I'm gonna say she's gonna pass. She's gonna make it. She's gonna be one of the best, because you know what? We are connected now. So, audience, as I usually have my weekly mantra, what I usually tell people, you know, if you don't feel that you love, just know that you are loved here at the Upfront Mind, Body, and Soul. Until next week, we love you here. And again, seek help if you need help. It's okay to say you're not okay. Thank you, Delia. Thank you so much.
Thank you.